So what brings you two together? I know you've done things together before, but why now? Why here?
Well, it started when I was doing a residency at Radio City. And part of the residency, I would have, you know, different comedians and musicians would all come. It was kind of like a great collective or curation of talent. And this particular night, it was the day that riot happened in Charlottesville.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, you could feel it in the room. There were palpable feelings around it. And Jon Stewart showed up that night. And when he went on, really, like, either John or Obama are the only people that would have got. Literally, you're the only ones that would have got that
Obama's
reception.
got a tight 5 on Charlottesville that would have crushed.
No, you could feel the crowd like it was a sigh of relief. You were like a visual cue to be rational, and the set you did that day was so powerful.
Well, that opens up a lot of questions. First and foremost, I was just reading about Lenny Bruce, the great comedian. Right. I think it's 50 years since he died, but all of a sudden having a resurgence. Off-Broadway play about to happen. He features in an Amazon Prime series. But
Lenny Bruce?
Lenny Bruce.
His career's going better now.
Yeah, his career's going better now. He's having a revival.
He changed agents.
But people are saying that, you know, the same things that he was satirizing and making, you know, part of his comedy back then exist right now. The assault on free speech, the, you know, partitioning of the country along race and religious lines, right. The protest on the streets and in Congress. And I wonder whether that affects you. I mean, whether you internalize that, given what you just said about a rational voice.
Well, I don't know about a rational voice, but I think we always internalize what's around us. We're comedians, and I think we feed off of whatever the food is of the day that's coming around. I don't know that, you know, in terms of a resurgence of the country being divided along racial and class lines and gender lines and all that, I feel like that's always with us. It's just at times it's maybe bubbles up more explicitly, but even when you don't say it out loud, it still exists. And it's always, you know, foundational. And so I don't know that it ever goes away.
Do you think it is more acute right now?
The division?
Yeah.
No, man, no. In fact, some of the things they say, even when they say that Russia influenced the election, it's kind of like, is Russia making us racist? is that who's doing it? Oh, okay, I thought it was, oh my God, thank goodness I thought it was us.
Putin was like, you know, you should be racist.
Huh? I hadn't thought of it that way.
Yeah, if they kill the country that way, then we're the murder weapon.
Yeah.
So
we've always been.
Is the Trump era a good era for comedians? Is it just unbelievable fodder or not?
I would not even name the era after him.
Yeah.
He's getting too much credit.
Well, he's the president?
He's not making the wave, he's surfing it.
Yeah.
They were
the energy's always been there.
All he does is sing those people's greatest hits. Build a Wall, all these things we've heard before. He just sings all the songs. He's the only one that has been brash enough to do it.
He's been a lot more aggressive towards journalists and reporters. I wonder what you think. I mean, obviously we're speaking in a moment when, you know, one of our colleagues has been butchered in cold blood.
Right.
In a consulate.
In Saudi. Sure.
In Turkey.
That's terrifying.
And in that environment, President Trump talks about a candidate running for office who has body slammed a reporter. And I'm going to play a little bit of what he said.
Any guy that can do a body slam, he's my kind. He's my guy.
What do you make of that? Because I asked you, because you were sort of the greybeard of journalism almost. I know you hate that, but when anchors started to be less authoritative than they used to be maybe, you know, 20 years ago, well, you were, for better or for worse, considered somebody with authority every night.
I think we were the protest vote, to a large extent. We were none of the above. So people would say, you know, who's the most trusted news anchor? And they would list the 4 network anchors, and then they would throw in, you know, my name, none of the above, and everybody's like, none of the above. And they would circle it, and that would go there. You know, I think that he is a performer. When we do our shows, we do our shows. And no matter if we're sitting in Royal Albert Hall or like when we were in Copenhagen, when we went to this little room called The Zoo. There was, 100 Danish-speaking, somewhat surprised people to see us. And we sat there and we did our show. And we did it between. Donald Trump is a salesman who changes his pitch depending on who he's in front of. What he doesn't realize is it's all being recorded. And so his pitch to that audience is the us versus them. We're all the victims of this liberal media, of these soft journalists who come out here and lie about us. We're really great people. And that's what he pitches to them. And if you ask him about it and you say, do you think that's okay to body slam a reporter? No, of course not. That's, not do that. But I was joking. It was a little joke I was making in front of friends.
Before we go forward, let's go back to the day after the election. You were hosting Saturday Night Live right after the election.
I'm wishing Donald Trump luck, and I'm going to give him a chance. And we, the historically disenfranchised, demand that he give us one too. Thank you very much.
Did that dream, desire come true? Has he given you a chance? Or you still want to give him a chance?
I think I said the right thing at the right time. You know what I mean? I think that we had to recalibrate and kind of put things in perspective. I'm a black American, so these feelings that people felt right after the election, we felt that many elections consecutively, and I think that to some degree people overreacted. Like, the alternative to giving him a chance was storming the streets, and if something good's on television, I'm not doing that. I just feel like
HBO has a lot of offerings right now to keep you from storming.
Yeah, Game of Thrones is on.
That's what I'm saying.
I can't make the ride tonight. But I don't know. Is he doing a good job? Am I happy with what he's doing? No, it's been very difficult to watch the last couple of years.
Harder than I think I thought it would be, in that there was a part of me that thought when you get in that room and it's nighttime and there's no one around and Teddy Roosevelt and Abe Lincoln and everybody's up on the walls and they're staring at you, that brings a certain cognitive weight to what you're feeling. And I imagine he walked in that room, he's like, take that down, put up dogs playing poker. Can a fella get some French fries around here? I think that, oddly enough, he transformed the White House, and the White House wasn't able to transform him.
Back in 2015, when he announced for president, you didn't take it entirely seriously.
The man came down an escalator.
Can I just play what you said?
Oh, sure.
Like many of you, I heard some interesting, let's call it news today, about a certain, let's say, gift from heaven, entering the presidential race, because apparently Huckabee Santorum wasn't far-fetched enough. I gotta tell you, the world right now is like, whites are black, Trump's running for president, like...
Should you have taken him more seriously? I mean, you were the oracle, Jon.
Yeah, now... I didn't think, I thought America was going to go, is that an escalator in a mall? I'm not going to vote for that, dude. Like, I didn't think he meant it. And when he gave that speech, quite frankly, I really thought when he said, Mexico sends us the worst, the rapists and murder, I really thought he had disqualified himself.
Not to mention what he said about women.
About women, about everything that he said there, and I thought, this is disqualifying. For me, though, and clearly I don't speak for, he's been very effective at, like what Dave said, surfing the waves that have been there. I'm watching the midterms. Man, you would think our country is Mad Max Thunderdome. This guy is like, they're coming from Guatemala, they're coming from Mexico, there's a liberal mob that's coming, Muslims. And you would think everybody in the country is just like, to the bunker. To the ramparts.
To that point, it's been written about you, Dave, that...
It has been written.
It has been said that you have a singular gift for blurring left and right, red and blue states. What do you think that means? That somehow you're able to sort of surf, bring them together, not necessarily get stuck in the political divide?
Because most of the political discussion is so binary, and I'm way more interesting than that. It's just a dude.
So you're way more interesting than that?
Yeah, most people are. If you talk to them, You know, I hear people say, you know, families are not speaking to one another because of politics. That sounds insane to me. Like, there's a ton of people that I love and respect that I completely disagree with.